Hello friends, welcome to YR. Today on this channel, we regularly share the latest news and spoilers from American TV shows. So, let's get into today's important update. Kane's latest betrayal on Y&Y proves he doesn't care about Phyllis. On The Young and the Restless, January 15th, Kane offered Billy Chancellor. He went behind Phyllis's back to talk to him. This betrayal shows he never cared about Phyllis. He's just using her. Kane fraternizes with the enemy. Kane, Billy Flynn, ran into Billy, Jason Thompson, at Crimson Lights. Billy wanted to meet with Kane as soon as possible. He wanted to know why Kane reached out to him in the first place. Billy asked Kane if he and Phyllis, Michelle Stafford, actually went after Newman Enterprises. He overheard their conversation about it. Kane confirmed the news. They just have to shore up a few of the accounts, and then the company is theirs. Billy asked Kane how he made it happen. He didn't have the software. Kane confessed that he had control of the software all along. Chancellor Industries would soon be his. Did Billy want to finally acquire it for himself? The funny thing is, Phyllis wants the entire empire to herself. She wants to stick it to the Newmans who shut her out for years. But now Kane is dangling Chancellor in Billy's face, who's been wanting it for so long. However, Billy claimed he was focused on Sally, Courtney Hope, and Abbott Communications. Kane knew how hard it was for Billy when Jill, Jess Walton, and Victor, Eric Braden, took Chancellor away from him. He wanted to offer it to Billy if he still wanted it. What about Phyllis? Billy mentioned that Phyllis wouldn't be happy about them having this conversation. Kane admitted that he hasn't told her yet. But he wants this for Billy. His brother never got the chance to show what he could do with Chancellor. Kane's latest betrayal doesn't care that he doesn't care about Phyllis. He's just using her for his personal and professional gain. The self-proclaimed billionaire pushed Lily, Crystal Khalil, and their kids out of his life. Despite his hookups with Phyllis, Kane still wants to reconcile with Lily, whether he likes to admit it or not. Phyllis is a distraction for him to play a ruthless game as he takes over the Newman Empire. He wanted to save his company, Arabesque, from Victor's hands. But now, he can't do that anymore. So, he's just keeping Phyllis close while he plots his revenge on Victor. With friends like Kane, who needs enemies? As for Phyllis, she thinks she has a companion in Kane, even though she's more alone than ever before. On Thursday's episode, she told Nick, Joshua Morrow, that she doesn't have any friends. She called Lauren, Tracy Bregman, and Michael, Christian LeBlanc, Fairweather friends. Not only will Phyllis lose more friends, but she'll also lose her kids' trust. Kane's latest betrayal on Y&Y proves he doesn't care about Phyllis. Kane Ashby has crossed many lines on The Young and the Restless over the years, but his latest betrayal may be the most revealing yet, because it exposes a truth fans have long suspected but perhaps didn't want to admit. Kane does not truly care about Phyllis Summers. In a town where alliances shift by the hour and loyalty is often transactional, Kane's most recent move feels particularly cold, calculated, and devastating, especially for someone like Phyllis, who has a long memory for betrayal and an even longer list of scars to prove it. What makes this moment explode as big news in Genoa City isn't just what Kane did, but how deliberately he did it, knowing exactly who would be hurt and choosing to proceed anyway. This wasn't an impulsive mistake. This was a strategic decision, and Phyllis was collateral damage. For weeks, Kane has been positioning himself as a man caught between power players, someone navigating Victor Newman's shadow, corporate warfare, and personal demons with a sense of reluctant survival. He's spoken about trust, about wanting to do the right thing, about not becoming the villain everyone expects him to be. And yet, when the moment came to prove those words meant something, Kane chose ambition over integrity and self-preservation over compassion. The betrayal didn't come with fireworks or a dramatic confession. It came quietly, efficiently, and ruthlessly, which is precisely why it cuts so deep. Kane didn't lash out at Phyllis in anger. He simply dismissed her importance, and that says far more than any shouting match ever could. Phyllis Summers is not new to betrayal. She has been lied to by lovers, used by allies, and sacrificed by men who claim to love or respect her. But what makes Kane's actions sting is that Phyllis believed she was finally dealing with someone who understood her. Kane has always presented himself as the misunderstood outsider, the man who knows what it's like to be underestimated, dismissed, or treated as expendable. That shared sense of grievance created a fragile bond between them, one rooted not in romance alone but in mutual recognition. Phyllis saw in Kane someone who might actually choose her when it mattered. Kane, however, saw Phyllis as a convenient partner until she became inconvenient. The betrayal itself unfolded in layers, each more damning than the last. First came the omission, the information Kane chose not to share, knowing full well that Phyllis was making decisions based on incomplete truths. Then came the maneuvering behind her back, aligning himself with forces he knew Phyllis distrusted and actively opposed. Finally, there was the moment of exposure, when Phyllis realized not only that she had been betrayed, but that Kane had already planned for her fallout, insulating himself from consequences while leaving her to face the wreckage alone. That's not care. That's calculation. What truly proves Kane doesn't care about Phyllis is not just that he betrayed her, but that he anticipated her pain and moved forward anyway. He knew how this would affect her standing, her credibility, and her already fragile emotional state. He knew it would reopen old wounds tied to being used and discarded. And he still did it. In Genoa City, where remorse often follows wrongdoing, Kane's lack of visible regret is deafening. He hasn't fought to fix what he broke. He hasn't taken responsibility in any meaningful way. Instead, he's justified his actions with half-hearted explanations about necessity and survival, as if Phyllis should understand why she had to be sacrificed. This moment also reframes Kane's recent behavior in a much harsher light. His conflicts with Victor, his power plays within Newman-related circles, and his sudden moral flexibility now feel less like desperation and more like revelation. Kane is showing us exactly who he is when the stakes are high, and the picture isn't flattering. He's not a man torn between right and wrong. He's a man who knows the difference and chooses himself every time. Phyllis, with her fierce loyalty once earned, expected at least honesty. What she got was strategy disguised as partnership. For Phyllis, the fallout is both personal and public. Being betrayed by Kane doesn't just hurt emotionally, it undermines her position in the ongoing chess match of Genoa City power dynamics. Phyllis thrives on information, leverage, and trust, and Kane stripped her of all three in one move. Worse, he's left her vulnerable to judgment from people who already view her as reckless or untrustworthy. Kane didn't just break her trust, he reinforced the narrative others used to dismiss her, and that may be the cruelest part of all. Fans are already questioning whether Kane ever truly valued Phyllis or if she was always a means to an end. Looking back, the warning signs are impossible to ignore. The selective honesty. The emotional distance whenever things became complicated. The way Kane spoke about loyalty but rarely demonstrated it when it cost him something. In hindsight, Phyllis wasn't a priority, she was a tool. And once that tool threatened to interfere with Kane's larger agenda, he discarded it without hesitation. This betrayal also raises a larger question about Kane's future in Genoa City. Aligning himself against Phyllis may bring short-term gains, but it comes with long-term consequences. Phyllis Summers does not forget, and she certainly does not forgive easily. When she strikes back, it's rarely impulsive. It's strategic, relentless, and devastating. Kane may believe he's insulated himself from her retaliation, but history suggests otherwise. If anything, this betrayal may have awakened the most dangerous version of Phyllis, the one who fights not just to win, but to make sure her enemy never underestimates her again. From a storytelling perspective, Kane's betrayal marks a turning point that could define his character for months to come. This isn't a misunderstanding that can be smoothed over with an apology. This is a line in the sand. By choosing to betray Phyllis, Kane has aligned himself with the very forces that have always exploited him, proving that power, not connection, is his true motivation. Any claims of caring about Phyllis now ring hollow, because care requires sacrifice, and Kane has shown he's unwilling to make one if it costs him leverage. As the dust settles, one thing is painfully clear: Phyllis believed in Kane more than he ever believed in her. She saw potential for partnership, loyalty, and maybe even redemption. Kane saw an opportunity. His latest betrayal doesn't just hurt Phyllis, it strips away the illusion that Kane is capable of genuine loyalty when it matters most. In Genoa City, betrayal is common, but indifference is unforgivable, and Kane's actions scream indifference louder than any villain monologue ever could. Whether Phyllis rises from this moment stronger or more vengeful remains to be seen, but one truth is undeniable. Kane's latest betrayal proves he doesn't care about Phyllis, and that realization may end up costing him far more than he ever anticipated. Kane may have won the battle, but Phyllis is about to change the war on Y&Y. If Kane Ashby believes his latest betrayal of Phyllis Summers was a clean break, he's gravely mistaken. In Genoa City, victories built on deception have a way of unraveling, and Phyllis has never been the kind of woman who quietly absorbs humiliation and walks away. Kane may think he's insulated himself, protected by new alliances and carefully crafted narratives, but what he's actually done is ignite a slow-burning fuse that could destroy everything he's worked so hard to control. This isn't just fallout. This is the beginning of a reckoning. Phyllis is currently in that dangerous, silent phase fans know all too well. She isn't screaming. She isn't lashing out impulsively. She's watching, listening, and collecting pieces. That alone should terrify Kane more than any public confrontation. Phyllis at her quietest is Phyllis at her most lethal, because she doesn't strike until she's absolutely certain the blow will land where it hurts most. Kane's mistake wasn't simply betraying her. It was underestimating her resilience and her capacity to adapt when backed into a corner. What makes this moment particularly explosive is how isolated Kane has made himself without realizing it. In choosing to sacrifice Phyllis, he didn't just lose her trust, he signaled to everyone watching that loyalty means nothing to him when power is on the line. Genoa City is full of opportunists, but it's also full of people who remember exactly how others behave when no one is supposed to be looking. Kane's betrayal has not gone unnoticed, and whispers are already spreading that he's more dangerous as an ally than as an enemy. Phyllis understands optics better than almost anyone in town, and she knows Kane's image is his greatest shield. That's where her counterattack is likely to focus. Rather than confronting him directly, Phyllis is poised to let others see the pattern she's just experienced firsthand. A well-placed truth here, a carefully leaked detail there, and suddenly Kane's carefully constructed narrative begins to crack. Phyllis doesn't need to destroy him overnight. She just needs to make sure no one trusts him enough to stand with him when he falls. Emotionally, this betrayal has hardened Phyllis in ways that could reshape her future relationships. Once again, she allowed herself to believe someone was different, that shared experiences and mutual understanding could form the basis of real loyalty. Kane's actions reinforce the lesson Phyllis has learned too many times before: vulnerability is a liability in Genoa City. The tragedy is that every betrayal pushes her further away from the very connection she craves, turning survival into instinct and affection into strategy. Kane didn't just betray her heart. He reinforced her walls. For Kane, the irony is brutal. In trying to secure power and independence, he may have guaranteed his own instability. Phyllis has a way of outlasting her enemies, largely because she understands that timing matters more than force. Kane is riding high now, but success built on betrayal has an expiration date. When his allies inevitably start questioning his motives, when his enemies sense weakness, it will be Phyllis who knows exactly where the pressure points are. There's also the possibility that this betrayal pushes Phyllis into unexpected alliances. Characters who once kept her at arm's length may find common ground with her now, united by a shared distrust of Kane's methods. Phyllis is at her most powerful when she's underestimated, and underestimated is exactly what Kane has done. By dismissing her emotional response as something she'll simply get over, he's forgotten one crucial truth. Phyllis doesn't move on. She moves forward, and she takes lessons with her. From a broader storytelling perspective, this shift positions Phyllis as a looming force rather than a reactive one. The pain is real, but so is the clarity that comes with it. Kane has shown her exactly who he is, and Phyllis believes people when they reveal themselves. Whatever empathy she once had for his struggles is gone, replaced by resolve. She won't rush. She won't warn him. She'll wait until he's confident, comfortable, and convinced he's won. In the end, Kane's greatest miscalculation wasn't betraying Phyllis. It was believing that doing so would end the story. In Genoa City, betrayal is rarely the final chapter. It's the opening line of something far more dangerous. And as Phyllis steadies herself and begins to reclaim her power, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Kane may have won this moment, but Phyllis is already planning the aftermath, and when it comes, it won't just cost Kane his advantage. It may cost him everything. Y&R fans say Kane has become the villain he always claimed to hate as the fallout from Kane Ashby's betrayal of Phyllis Summers continues to ripple through Genoa City. Fans are no longer debating whether Kane crossed a line. The conversation has shifted to something far more damning. Kane has become the very kind of man he always insisted he would never be. For years, Kane positioned himself as someone battling the corrupt influence of power, a man determined not to lose his soul in a town that devours the morally weak. Now, with one calculated move, that self-image has shattered, and viewers are watching in real time as Kane steps fully into villain territory. What makes this transformation so unsettling is how quietly it's happened. Kane didn't snap. He didn't spiral into madness or justify his actions with emotional chaos. He made a clear-eyed decision to betray someone who trusted him, and he did it with chilling composure. That level of control is what alarms fans the most. This isn't a man losing himself. This is a man choosing who he wants to be, and the choice doesn't favor loyalty, empathy, or love. Phyllis's role in this shift cannot be overstated. To betray Phyllis Summers is not a small narrative choice. Phyllis is a character defined by survival, scars, and hard-earned instincts. When she puts her trust in someone, it signals to viewers that a bond has real weight. Kane's willingness to exploit that trust has reframed every one of his past complaints about being used by powerful figures like Victor Newman. Fans are now asking whether Kane ever hated manipulation or simply hated being on the losing end of it. Social chatter and fan reactions point to a growing consensus. Kane didn't just betray Phyllis, he exposed his true moral compass. His justifications about necessity and strategy ring hollow to an audience that has watched other characters face similar stakes without sacrificing their humanity. Plenty of people in Genoa City have been desperate. Not all of them chose betrayal as their solution. Kane did, and that choice defines him. The comparison to classic Y&R villains is inevitable. Kane's trajectory now echoes characters who started as sympathetic underdogs only to be consumed by ambition and resentment. The difference is that Kane always claimed self-awareness. He spoke openly about not wanting to become ruthless, about learning from past mistakes. That makes his current actions feel less tragic and more hypocritical. Fans aren't mourning a fall from grace. They're recognizing a pattern that was always there, now finally impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Phyllis's response continues to fuel speculation. Her restraint has only amplified the sense of danger surrounding Kane's future. Viewers know Phyllis doesn't need to shout to be effective. Her silence suggests strategy, and that has fans convinced that Kane's apparent victory is temporary. If anything, his new villain status may paint a target on his back, uniting enemies who previously had no reason to work together. What's especially striking is how isolated Kane has become within the story. Even characters who aren't directly aligned with Phyllis are beginning to view Kane with suspicion. Trust is currency in Genoa City, and Kane is spending it faster than he realizes. Fans are already predicting that when his alliances collapse, there will be no one left willing to catch him. Villains rarely fall because of one enemy. They fall because they stand alone. From a narrative standpoint, this evolution sets the stage for high-stakes drama. Kane as a conflicted antihero always occupied a gray area, but Kane as an emerging villain sharpens the story's focus. His choices now carry weight not just for his relationships, but for the balance of power across the canvas. Every move he makes will be scrutinized, every justification questioned. The margin for error is gone. In the end, fans aren't just reacting to a betrayal. They're reacting to a revelation. Kane Ashby didn't lose his way. He found it, and it leads straight into darkness. Whether the show ultimately redeems him or lets him fully embrace his villain arc remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, by betraying Phyllis Summers, Kane proved that the man he feared becoming was never as far away as he pretended.